England and the Wallabies this weekend. It's rank 4 up against rank number 3. It's Eddie Jones up against his countrymen. It should be a pretty interesting one. We'll go through the squads, some stats, predictions, and recent history. You guys can let me know your thoughts on how things are going to go. Before we head into the squads, though, the recent history, man, it's been pretty lopsided. The Aussies have not beaten the English for quite some time, and never while Eddie Jones has been in charge of England. So, you got to look back to the 2015 Rugby World Cup, which was a pretty big win for Australia, but that's their most recent win over the English. Recent times, like those last 5 games, it's 38-21 the average to England. So it's been pretty comfortable in the end. Some pretty good games there, but all kind of going England's way. That most recent one at the World Cup, 40 points to 16, was pretty comfortable. So certainly Dave Rennie's boys will want to break that streak. But it's certainly going to be a tough ask away at Twickenham. For England's squad, though, there are some interesting changes. Against George and Sinclair's the same front row as last week. So that's kind of to be expected. And they'll be certainly looking to put pressure on the Wallabies. I'll get to them in a minute. Itoje and Hill is the same lock-in duo. So as I mentioned last week, it's a good lock-in duo. And the sheer bulk and size of Johnny Hill, especially maul disruption and Maro's kind of dominant tackles and ability to turn the ball over. I think they're a good duo. Laws is 6, Underhill 7, and Curry is still there at 8. I know there was some criticism of Curry's selection at 8 last week. He had a decent game though, didn't he? But it'll be certainly a different story up against a tougher opponent in the Wallabies. Ben Young's had a pretty good game last week, or he's still at 9. But interestingly, Marcus Smith, who was a absolute revelation when he came on as an impact guy last week, he gets a nod at 10, but as Eddie Jones mentioned, it'll be a good test for him up against his first tier 1 opponent, so we'll kind of see what he's made of. Owen Farrell is back at 12. He's the captain for this week. His COVID thing got sorted, false positive from what I understand, and Henry Slade is there at 13, so Henry Slade will likely not be called upon to do the goal kicking this week. Mana Tuolangi's playing as well, and you might be thinking, wait, you've already mentioned Farrell, Smith, Slade, where's Tuolangi playing? He's on the wing. Manu Tuolangi's playing on the wing. I think he has played on England's wing before, but not for nigh on, I don't know, almost 10 years. A long time, maybe not 10 years, but a long time. That's an interesting call. I'm not sure if he plays wing for his club much or if at all, but I certainly haven't seen him play a lot of wing, but that'll be an interesting test for him. Johnny Mays on the other wing, and Freddie Stewart is there at fullback. So, when asked about it, Eddie basically said he wants to play all the best players. And sometimes that can be a bit of a conundrum for coaches. Do you play all your best players, or do you play the best players in those positions? So you might have 2 guys who are great in one position, but you can't play them both. So you either need to play the best player who's in that position, who's not one of your best players necessarily, could be a very good player, or you play your best player out of position. Eddie's gone with the latter. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Certainly defensively, that'll be an area to be testing him. I'd be looking for 50-22s and high balls and whatnot. But with Stewart there, the high ball's a bit risky because he is a proper pincher of anything above him, man. He'll absorb any kind of aerial pressure, surely, because he's such a big guy with a big jump on him. Replacements, Blamire, Rod, and Stewart. So Bevan Rod, I think, is going to get his first England cap if he comes on, which he probably will because he's a prop. But remember, Joe Marler, I think, is the latest one with the COVID positive test, so he's out the squad. Ewells, Dombrandt, and Simmons. So it's a 6-2 split. So Simmons is back in the squad alongside Dombrandt. Again, it's like, why pick one when you can have both, I suppose. Quirk and Malins there as well. I know Malins can kind of cover half the back line, and Quirk will be getting, I think it's his first cap as well, won't it? Or is it his second? I know Mitchell got his first one last week. So you've certainly got a bit of a mix in your halfbacks in England, with your Youngs being the most experienced guy, 100 plus, and then the likes of Alex Mitchell and Harry Randall and Rafi Quirk as well. But no Rudd on this week, which is unfortunate. Atkins is out the squad, so a bit of chopping and changing for England. For Australia, I think the biggest news is both their tight head props are out. Alan Alatoa and Taniela Tupou both out. Both suffered head knocks last week, and it's unfortunate as well because they got a short turnaround. 6-day turnaround for the Wallabies, having played on the Sunday, so neither of their tight heads are fit. So they've both got concussion symptoms, so they are sitting this one out, which means James Slipper, who's a loose head for the most part, he's going to play 3. And he did okay against Scotland. They scored 1 try when they had a feed, and he was the guy propping the scrum on tight head. But when Scotland put the ball in, they just tended to hold it in and look for a penalty, and they got them. So that may be an area where England can get a lot of pay. Fainga and Bell are the other guys in the front row. So Bell's jumped up from the bench to fill Slipper's spot at loosehead. Arnold and Rodder are the locks, so kind of same as last week. And Leota, Hooper and Valtini the back rowers, so same as last week as well. I mean, you'll look out for Hooper making tackles and getting turnovers everywhere. I think Valtini could use a bigger game. Last week he was kind of kept a wee bit quiet, but he has got a big physical presence when he can get himself into the game. Nick White and James O'Connor, same 19 combo. James O'Connor still looked a little bit rusty last week, but it's to be expected. He's not played a lot of game time at 10 after a long injury layoff, so hopefully he'll be a week sharper. Paisami and Ikito are the same midfield as last week as well. Lacked a little bit of go-forward ball because they're missing Karevi. Parise did make a good impact from the bench when he came on, but he's still riding the pine this week. So I'm kind of eager to see him get on, but it's also going to be a pretty tough test up against England. So I can understand not wanting to drop him in too far into the deep end, but that being said, Paisami and Ikito aren't exactly kind of hugely experienced guys in their own right. Tom Wright and Kellaway are the wings, so Kellaway has shifted from fullback to the wing. I do like him better on the wing, to be fair, because I think he adds a bit more impact, but Curtly Beale's there at fullback. Now, Freddie Stewart is like the most secure guy under the high ball that I've seen in a while. Curtly Beale, not so much. I do worry a little bit for him under the high ball, but he's electric when he catches it and gets an open field in front of him. So, yeah, we'll kind of be keen to see what he can do from fullback. They've brought in Tolulatu into the squad, so a bit of experience there at hooker. Robertson and Ollie Hoskins will get his first debut. That's kind of a bit of an injury crisis. They've had to call him in, so congratulations to him. Will Scout and Pete Samu are the other forward replacements. You've got Tate McDermott, Noah Lolosio is there, and Eze Parisi there as well. So yeah, the Aussies have got a bit of an injury list at the moment with some of their kind of first choice guys being out. But yeah, because Jordan Pataya picked up an injury. They've had Hodgie injured a while back. They've got Tom Banks, their normal fullback. He's been out for a while. Now both their tight heads. So yeah, not ideal. That is for sure. Stats-wise, I mean, England will need to keep their discipline good because penalties conceded has been a wee bit of a area for them, especially when they're playing Tier 1 teams. So they'll be looking to kind of keep that a bit clean. But their line-out's been good compared to the Aussie one. It's pretty solid. Like I said, the scrum will be an area where they'll be looking to dominate because they'll be looking to take advantage of Slipper having to play tight head. Defensively, both sides are kind of pretty similar. Aussie's defensive record's been pretty good in recent times. They kind of kept the Scottish attack quiet, which is not an easy thing to do in recent times, but they likewise weren't kind of able to cut the Scots open either. So, yeah, should be a pretty interesting one. In terms of predictions, the rugby forecast algorithm says England by 15, and the bookies have got England by 13. So saying England should be pretty comfortable favourites for this one at home. They do have a good recent record over the Wallabies. If you're looking for Christmas gear, England Rugby Store, at least as I record this, is having a 20% off sale. So check that out. They were doing free shipping the other day, so they got Black Friday coming up. Link in the description for England Rugby Store if you want to pick up some gear. They are an affiliate of the channel, so happy days. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. Can you see the Wallabies breaking this long line of defeats, or do you think England are going to be too strong, too Langi on the wing, a weakness, or a powerful ball runner that's going to add value? You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.